Hey, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode in the series in which we celebrate the extraordinary Diana Ross. But not today. Today, it's all about me. Well, kind of. Just with me for a minute. So, I participated in a contest called Voice of Stars, La Voix des Stars en français, but you have an American version. And it was 7 months ago, and so I had signed a secrecy agreement, so I couldn't tell you about it, but I won, and here's my trophy that I'm so proud of because I never won anything in my life, and I won this contest, and it was so exciting. So I thought this could be the occasion for me to talk to you about um, one of my favorite stars, apart from Diana Ross, but one that you may not know or may not have ever even heard of because she is especially famous in France, and her name is Dalida. Now, here's a painting in the back that my father did of her, and it's not very resemblant, but I love it anyway. And here is a Madra doll. You may know Madra, who is a famous American doll, but she was OOAK, which is one of a kind, and it was done by a friend of mine to resemble Dalida. So he redid her makeup, and of course, she had this incredible hair. And this is very much what Dalida looked like. And she also had this gown. I'll try and find a picture and post it for you. And so, Voice of Stars is a television contest where people have the same voice as a famous star. And you have a jury of four famous people. Most of them are imitators. And two of them cannot see you, but they hear you. And two of them see you, but don't hear you. They're in a box for the first minute or so of your first appearance. And so I have a voice which kind of resembles Dalida, which I worked on quite a bit. Now, Dalida had a very deep voice, and her R's were because she is Italian, born in Egypt, but she arrived in France very early in her 20s, and she became a superstar. And for most French people, she's French. And she lived in Montmartre all of her life. She bought a beautiful home, which is now a museum. It's going to become a museum. And there is a statue of her in Montmartre. And she is truly a symbol of France, very much like Josephine Baker, who, for French people, you'll never be able to tell them that she's American. They think she's French. And so very important to us. And although Josephine is a symbol of Paris and the music hall, Dalida is a national symbol. She is, for all the French people, a singer who they've adored. So she's a very popular singer. She sang, she had a very long career, and she died 37 years ago. And what is incredible, it's nothing short of a miracle, is that the young generation, and I'm talking about people who have never known her alive, they were born when she was already passed away, adore her and know so much about her songs and her career. And I've worked in many places where I sang her songs, whether being impersonating her or not. And people know every single one of the lyrics. They know her songs by heart. Always had long blonde hair up to the end of her life, and she was always known for wearing very elaborate evening gowns wherever she sang. And so she was known for that. No jewelry, but beautiful beaded gowns. And she played a lot with her hair, so she always lifted her hair. And she had from childhood a problem with her eyes, where she was very she was what you call cross-eyed. And so people were very cruel to her because although she was a very beautiful woman, she had that stigmatism, and which was very, very, very made her extremely sad and very, very self-conscious. Now, for me, I discovered her when I was 9 or 10 years old on television, fell in love with her immediately, and then went to see her at the Olympia in Paris when I was 13 years old. Then, when I worked for Laura Sizzaro, the fashion designer, in the 1980s, she one day came to the shop, and she was known for borrowing gowns for her different shows and concerts. And so I was all alone with her in the store and showed her um, a gown which I adored and I thought was the most beautiful gown in the store. And she had already talked about it with the manager, who said it was a very expensive gown, very fragile, and they only had one in the store, so they couldn't, you know, lend it out for more than 1 or 2 days, which that didn't interest her. But I insisted, and I got scolded, but she did end up borrowing the gown, and then years later did a commercial, and in that commercial she wore the gown. So this time the production bought the gown, and it was part of her salary. As a matter of fact, I think it was the biggest chunk of her salary was that gown, and she kept it all her life. And then I met Laura Sizzaro many years later when I was working for Thierry Mugler, and he was a bit older and very tired. And I said to him, you know, was never able to thank you, but when I worked for you, it was only a stage. I worked 3 months in the shop as a student. I wasn't even paid. I said I had the extreme chance of meeting Dalida. And when Dalida died, the newspapers cited that she had been buried in a gold gown. And I always thought it must be one of Laura Sizzaro's gowns. And she wore a lot of gold, and all the gowns she wore were always very shimmery. And I said to Laura Sizzaro, I know it's one of your gowns. And he said, no, Philippe, it's your gown, meaning it was the gown that I had lent her, and that by the end she bought. Years later, I did a movie in which I portrayed a female impersonator who only impersonated Dalida. And when I went for the shooting, it was a month and a half of the filming. And the first day that I was shooting as Dalida, and I sang a very, very sad song in a barn, because this whole movie was filmed in a farm. And it's a true story. It's a farmer who turns his farm into a cabaret to save his farm that is dying because he's not making enough money with the milk and the cows. I was singing in a barn, and I was singing the song, and I received my call the day before. In the hotel room where I was staying, they slid under the door, and I received my paper saying, you know, your call for tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, makeup and costume, dressed as Dalida to sing this song, and May 3rd. And I said, what is May 3rd? Why does this date remind me of something? And I Googled May 3rd Dalida, and it's the day of her death, May 3rd, 1987. To continue with Dalida, and this woman who all my life, and especially when I started doing shows, has helped me. I was called 2 years ago by a man that I met in an airplane, and who did castings. He was a casting director, and I did the very first show, and I sang my first song, Besame Mucho, and then the 4 judges were absolutely wonderful and exquisite and kind, and they're famous in France, so it was very impressing, very touching. And they gave me, you had to have at least 3 yeses out of the 4, and I got 4. So I was so excited and so happy. And then they called us back, and we were 8 people who were finalists, and then they had to choose 2. And then they called out my name with another man who is incredible and who sings Charles Aznavour with the most incredible voice. And so then we were the 2 finalists, and it was just unbelievable. And this time, one of the judges said, listen, I have a feeling you kind of do a little bit more than just sing. And so, do you do drag? And I said, yes, that's my job. I'm a female impersonator. And so she said, well, now that you won, I want to see you in full drag. I had an incredible team of makeup artists and hairdressers. And I said, I do the makeup, you do the hair. But once I've done the makeup, I come to you and I want you to make it look more natural for the TV, because I don't know how it works with the lighting. And I think I've told you many times before, I do not have stage fright. Once I'm ready, there's just no stage fright. I'm on stage and it's just absolutely gone. And sometimes I even miss it. I used to have it when I was much, much younger, and it gives you a bit of energy. And but it also helps you to be in control. But this time I was shaking. First of all, I hadn't eaten the entire day. I was just too busy rehearsing the music and just trying to focus on all the things. And plus we had to film a million things, you know, the interviews and the walk on and the walk off and the rehearsals and tons of things. So I just hadn't eaten anything. So I was a little bit, shaky. And then I walked onto the stage, and it's just so humongous. It's so colossal, and this shiny floor, and I slipped on a little bit, and it just, when I began, the nerves got on. But I was able to sing my song, not make a single mistake, and go through. And then I won, and I won this unbelievable award, and I was just so excited. Plus 10,000 euros, which that's pretty nice. That was told to us on the night of the filming. I had signed my contract, and it said that the winner only gets something of symbolic value. So I had no idea that I was going to win any money, and thank God. And then just before calling us for the finale, they said, and who of Philippe or Patrick is going to maybe win 10,000 euros. So that was so exciting. 10,000 euros is about 14,000 American dollars. So it's a lot of money, enough for a couple of gowns. And so that was just so exciting. And I remember I went home. Things go so fast, you know, they dress you up. They need your dressing room for another filming. And the minute you walk up, you know, with your trophy, they're like, can we help you pack up? Because you have to go. And they called me a taxi, and they came up to me and they said, the taxi's here in 10 minutes. And I put all my things, you know, in my suitcases. And then I just kept this with me in my bag, thinking if I lose anything, this I'm not going to lose. And the taxi driver was the kindest man. And I got a phone call from the man that I had met on the plane for the casting. And he said, Philippe, this is unbelievable. We met on a plane, and you know, you do this thing and you win. It's unbelievable. And it was just so wonderful.
Le grand gagnant de Voix de Star est c'est Philippe Dalida. Jarry vous offre le trophée du vainqueur de Voix de Star.
J'ai jamais rien gagné.
Bravo, merci. Philippe, est-ce que je peux avoir quelques mots à propos de votre victoire? On embrasse d'abord le jury. Vous êtes fantastique.
Merci.
Venez avec nous. Oh là là, qu'est-ce que vous ressentez, Philippe?
Ah, je suis extrêmement ému. Je voudrais de tout cœur remercier ce public extraordinaire qui montre tout son amour à la vraie Dalida. Elle est là-haut, elle vous regarde. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
I told you my story. I hope I told you a little bit about Dalida, and I'm showing some pictures as we're talking. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing that these stars that we love so much, when these things come back to you. And in the case of Dalida, it really has, because I've really had so many, many opportunities by impersonating her, and truly, what one of the judges told me when she gave her vote, she said, "You may not be the most perfect voice compared to Patrick, who did Charles Aznavour, who is just, you close your eyes and you think it's him. But she said, we can tell that you love her so much." And so that's why she gave me her vote. But the final vote was given by the public, the 500 people who were in the audience. And I was just very happy, but also just, as I said to everyone, thank you for the love that you give to Dalida, who's been gone for so long, but that you just do not forget. You know, you still, whether you're young or old, you still remember this lady who died tragically, who had a very, very sad life. She, you're not allowed to say the word, but she left this world willingly at the age of 54. And she was, you know, one of the most famous people in France, and one of the wealthiest people. And she had everything in her life, but she just was not a very happy woman. But she gave joy to this world and to us. So I hope you'll want to listen to her, the real Dalida, because she does have a beautiful, beautiful discography. She's made magnificent albums, and she was an incredible entertainer. So I'll see you next week. I haven't been here for 2 weeks, but this was the reason. So many. Now, although the show was filmed 7 months ago, it was aired the last week. So I've been very, very busy, and people have been extremely kind. I haven't been recognized in the streets so much, just once or twice, but all the people who have seen it and who know me sent me messages of very, very kind messages and kind words. So I'll see you next week, and we'll talk about Miss Ross, and we'll stop talking about me. Bye bye, and thank you.
Allez Philippe, pousse, pousse Philippe, pousse. Allez, encore, encore. Oui, ça c'est bon ça c'est bon ça.
Oh là là, le poids du succès.